Now we're going to go preview the divisions and how they're going to shake out. So let's start with the NFC East. Luke, how do you have that division playing out?
Yeah, it's going to be a two-tiered division. I still think the Eagles are maybe the best, most complete team in the NFL right now. I still think they win this division, but I think it's close. I think the Washington Commanders are going to be right there, nipping at their heels the whole season long. I think it's going to come down to the wire. So that's 1-2. I think the Cowboys are mediocre at best football team. I think the Cowboys are closer to the Giants at the bottom of this division than they are to the Commanders or the Eagles. So Cowboys 3, Giants 4.
I'll go Commanders first, just over the Eagles. I think, and again, I have some issues with their defense, but you give Dan Quinn a second year running a defense. I've seen this too many times before. He'll figure it out. They'll bring Scary Terry back because they have to. The Eagles, I'm not down on them for any particular reason. I just think the upside with Daniels is so high, with that run game is so high because, you ask people in the Commanders building, like, what was the biggest thing that happened this offseason? And people say, we got Cliff Kingsbury as OC for a second year. And Cliff has really developed as an offensive mind in the last few seasons. So Cowboys and Giants, I mean, I could almost flip. I mean, because of Will McClay, who was the GM for the Cowboys and everything but name, and one of the best personnel guys, he drafted all the big shots from Zach Martin on. They've got enough base talent to be better than the Giants, but not by much. And we can't ever really take them seriously. I would say maybe the Commanders. They're half a game over the Eagles. We'll love to see those division games. But obviously, as you said, it's a two-tier division.
Real quick rundown. I'm going to go with the Eagles first place. Very high on them. Commanders next. This is kind of where it gets weird. I'm going with the Giants third place. I just think the vibes in Dallas are way worse than they usually are. Like, sometimes there's some hype about the Cowboys. There's some positivity. I don't really feel that right now, and they usually underperform to begin with. So I think the Cowboys are actually going to finish last in this division. George Pickens is not who you bring in to make this culture better.
What about the NFC North? How do you see that playing out?
NFC North, I think, is going to be an extremely packed division. It's going to be tightly packed. I don't think there's going to be a massive variance between the team that finishes at the top and the team that finishes at the bottom in terms of record. I still have the Lions at the top because even though you had some attrition with the coaching staff, you lost both your coordinators. I think that's gonna hurt. I think it's gonna take a hit, but the structure is still there. The talent and the team is still there, and I just can't believe they're going to be as hurt as they were last year. So I don't think that's physically possible. I still think the Lions eke it out. I think the Packers are right there, but especially these three teams, the Packers, Vikings, and Bears, if you put them in any order, I would be fine with it. I think the way the ball bounces here, an injury there, a bad weather game here could completely flip all those three teams. But I'll have the Packers finishing second. I think the Vikings, again, take a step back without Sam Darnold there. We just don't know what we're going to get with McCarthy. I think they finished third, but I think the Chicago Bears, even as a last place team, are going to be an extremely good football team, a much better football team than we've seen the last few years. I think Caleb Williams is going to make huge improvements. That division might be the toughest top to bottom in the whole league, just because I don't see a ton of variance from 1 to 4.
I do see the brain drain with the Lions as being somewhat of a problem, but their new OC and their new DC, those guys were both in the building for the last few years, so Exactly. They came up in this system. They have all the playbooks. It's not like you're bringing in new guys and I want Jared Goff to stop throwing all the dig balls because that's what he's good at. They're not going to be that stupid. And the injury regression is severe. I mean, when Aiden Hutchinson got hurt in week 6, he led the NFL in every possible pressure category. They were just so banged up. If they have half the injuries they had going into the playoffs, I think they won the Super. I think they were the best team in football last year, even with the injuries. I think they stay atop that division. I'm going to give the Packers a slight edge over the Vikings, but really I see the Bears as a team that might win 7 or 8 games. And at the end of the regular season, everyone in the league is going, oh, God, do we have to watch out for these guys next year? They're in trouble.
Kind of different, kind of similar. I'm going with the Lions, of course, to win the division. I'm going to have Packers next, but I am a little bit worried about them. Third place, I'm going with the Bears. Like you guys mentioned before, that defense is improving. They brought in Ben Johnson. I think maybe Caleb Williams is going to settle down a little bit. The expectations have probably come down a little bit. No one thinks he's like the best quarterback out of his draft class anymore, with Jaden Daniels clearly being the number one. And yeah, last place, I'm going with the Vikings. I just don't believe in JJ McCarthy. I think they're going to be in last place, but that's going to be a really good last place team.
How do you see the NFC South playing out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty boring. I think it's going to be the same way it's been for the last 4 years. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are bringing back pretty much everybody. The entire starting offense is back. I know they lost Liam Cohen, but again, they kept the entire rest of the coaching staff from leaving to follow him. So it's all going to be more of the same. They're going to build on last year's success. They made a ton of improvements and additions to the defense, both in terms of veterans, bringing in guys like Hassan Reddick to improve the pass rush, loading up on defensive draft picks in the secondary and defensive front. Injuries early on are going to make it a struggle for them to start the season. But again, this is a team that was 4-6 and 4-7 in each of the past 2 seasons. They won the division. They've won it 4 years in a row. I think they do it again. I think the Falcons are going to be a really, really hard team to beat. I think if they had moved to Michael Penix Jr. much earlier last season, I think we're having a different conversation about the NFC South last year. Gladly for the Bucs fans among us, we that did not happen, and the Bucs won the division again. I think it's going to be a tough battle between those 2 teams, but I think the Bucs have been there before. The Bucs have the leadership, the experience, the veteran guys. I think they get the job done. Falcons finish second. Again, similar to the NFC East, I think it's 2 tiers. I think it's those 2 teams. I think the Panthers are clearly the 3rd best team. I think they're going to be improved, but not enough to challenge those top 2. And again, I think the Saints are just going to be one of the worst teams in football, and I think they could contend for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I would go Buccaneers first here. I mean, I would love for Baker Mayfield to calm down a little bit, but I'd also like a full head of hair and $14 million. Not going to happen. Falcons at number 2 for a lot of the reasons Luke said. And Penix, I was so high on him coming out of Washington. Really a deep ball maven. And yeah, the whole thing with Cousins is like, why didn't you make the switch before? Panthers, as I said before, love Bryce Young. The defense is just that's a multi-year rebuild. And the Saints, next.
Worst team ever. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I just think it's all kind of coming together at the right time. You got Bijan Robinson, Michael Penix, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, all kind of guys who I think they're young, but I think they're kind of getting to that experienced territory. So I'm going to go with the Falcons to win the division, even though I kind of like the Bucs as a person. Bucs second, Panthers third, and the Saints by default last place.
My hot take for the season is that the Falcons will have an offensive player of the year in Bijan Robinson.
I can see it.
I can see
100% can see it.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It's not really a hot take then.
Well, it's hot-ish. I wouldn't bet on it, but
yeah.
It's
he's
lukewarm.
he's fantasy number 1 for a lot of people, so I think he'll have a great season.
Now moving on to the NFC West, and you two, Doug and Luke, have some interesting choices for this one. So who do you guys have winning the NFC West?
Yeah, I've got Seattle winning it almost by default. Again, I think the Rams are probably the better team overall, but I just can't trust that Matthew Stafford's going to stay healthy the whole season. And the drop-off from Matt Stafford being healthy and to Jimmy Garoppolo is just going to be such a massive drop-off for this team. If he misses any kind of significant time at all, I think it's going to be a much easier division to win for Seattle. I think the Rams will still be there because I love that defensive line, the defense overall, and they still got some weapons there. So they'll still be tough. The 49ers are the team that I don't have a lot of faith in. Again, they play a last place schedule, but I think they're older, they're banged up. They lost so many key members of that defense this offseason, so I don't see them contending in that division. And I think the Arizona Cardinals are just there. I don't think they inspire anybody at all right now.
Yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks primarily because of the defense. I do find it interesting that there's a Seahawks offensive line that's trending up. I think the last time that happened was 2011.
Yeah.
With Gray Zabel. My goodness. I mean, I thought Gray Zabel was good. I didn't think he was this good. I'll go with the Rams second. Same concerns about Stafford. If Stafford's fully healthy, I think they win the division and go deep in the playoffs because they've got most everything else. I'll put the Cardinals slightly ahead of the Niners. With the Cardinals, I just don't know what the identity is. I think the Niners are it's not a soft rebuild. It's a soft, restructure. And they know it has to happen.
Damn, see the 49ers getting last place. Holy crap. Okay, I'm going to go with the Rams to win the division. I'm a big McVay believer. I think Stafford will play enough games where they can win that division. Second place, I'm going with the 49ers. Shanahan, also an amazing coach. A lot of guys are getting hurt there, but they still got Purdy. McCaffrey's going to be there. They're not the same team that was insane a few years ago, but I think they're good enough to be better than these other 2 teams. Third place, I'm going to Seahawks, but I don't think they're going to be a good third place team. Not a Darnold guy. In fourth place, I'm going to the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, dude, I was watching him play last year. He throws the ball so slow. I'm just not a believer in him anymore. Cardinals last place.
And then from there, who do you think is going to be the 3 wildcard teams from the NFC?
I'm going to go Commanders, Falcons, and the Packers.
Eagles, Packers, Rams.
My 3 wildcard teams out of the NFC are going to be Washington Commanders, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Chicago Bears.
All right, moving on to the AFC now. Let's take a look at the AFC East. How do you see that division shaking out?
I mean, it's the Bills and everybody else. I think they're gonna win that division easily again. But I do think the New England Patriots are going to be much improved. I think they move up to the number 2 spot. Drake May, Mike Vrabel coming in. I think that the floor of that franchise is going to rise quite a bit, and I think they're going to be a much tougher out. The Jets, they got some playmakers on both sides of the ball. Obviously, they're going to go as Justin Fields goes. I'm still a pretty big Justin Fields fan. He's just going to have to do so much work to undo all of the mechanical problems that developed because of his time in Chicago and how detrimental it was to his development. He's still got a lot of things to unlearn that weren't issues for him at Ohio State, frankly, that were issues that were created in Chicago. So hopefully we get the best version of him and they can be a solid team, but I don't see them finishing any higher than 3rd there. And again, I just think I see the potential for the Miami Dolphins to kind of be a train wreck this year and fall off the wagon and lead to an offseason of completely rebuilding that franchise.
I think the Bills are still number 1 here. I don't think it's going to be as much of a fait accompli as it used to be. I think the Patriots are well on their way. I think the Jets were so poorly coached last season that with Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrom, who was in the Lions staff for a while with Ben Johnson on offense, Steve Wilkes on defense, I think they're going to bring a lot of heat for a 6 or 7 win team. The Dolphins, I think Mike McDaniel is going to be somebody who's really, really good offensive coordinator next year. We'll see where that goes.
Damn. I'm going to go with the Bills to win it as well. I just think no one's going to overtake them. Patriots, 2nd place. I agree. I think the Mike Vrabel hire is just so much better than Gerard Mayo. A lot of good things going on there. And you know what? I'm going to have the Dolphins 3rd place. I'm going to be optimistic and say Tua's going to play the full season. If he plays a full season, they're going to be 3rd place. Jets, 4th place. I just don't think Justin Fields can win enough games to be better than the Dolphins.
Moving on to the AFC North, where do you see that division lining up?
I think it's the Ravens at the top. I think they're the most complete team. They've got the best player in the division, obviously. That offense is going to be nasty again with Lamar and Derrick Henry. The Cincinnati Bengals, again, one of the most explosive passing games, really offenses in the league, despite having kind of a lackluster offensive line. But Joe Burrow, Chase Brown had a huge year last year. I expect the same from him this year. They brought back both their wide receivers. They're going to score a lot of points. They're going to have to because that defense is awful, even with Trey Hendrickson. And if he's not there, man, it's going to be bad. But the Steelers, again, I think continue to be the most average team in the NFL like they have been for a while. I don't think Aaron Rodgers moves the needle much, but it's not going to take much for them to finish 3rd instead of the Browns, who are easily the worst team in that division.
Ravens are up top. It's funny, I did a piece for Athlon about a week ago on the best quarterbacks in every type of situation, and it was hilarious how many times Lamar was number 1 and by how far he was.
He must have won MVP, right, Doug?
There was at least one AP voter who voted for him who was not happy when the results came out. I'll just put it that way. Yeah.
I know him.
Best team in best offense, might be the best team in the NFL, certainly up there. I think, we talked about why the Aaron Rodgers thing wouldn't work. We tend to undersell how the Steelers were able to do what they've done since Big Ben kind of lost his fastball with the quarterbacks they've had. And Aaron Rodgers can figure it enough to make them, a little bit over that. They're not going to have a winning record with a negative point differential again, maybe 10, 11 wins. Bengals, this is going to be, remember the Saints from about, 10 years ago when Drew Brees threw for 17,000 yards a season, and that was went 7-9 because their defense was ranked 49th. There you go. And then the Browns at the bottom because they're the Browns.
Ravens are an incredible regular season team. That's not me saying they can't win in the postseason. But I'm going to have the Bengals following them. You guys know how I feel about them. I think they're going to have their best offensive season yet with Joe Burrow. And then 3rd place, Steelers. And, of course, 4th place, we're going with the Browns.
Moving on to the AFC South. How do you see what some people call the worst division in football playing out?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of tiers here. I think the Texans and the Jaguars are going to be fighting for it at the top, but I do think it might take 9 or 10 wins at most to win this division. I think those are the 2 teams I'm most confident will be fighting it out at the end. Titans, I think, will be much improved, but not enough to get into that tier and push for a playoff spot, and I just think the Colts are going to be really, really, really bad.
One team in this division will have a winning record, and it'll be by default. I have the Texans because of the defense, and they have not fixed their offensive line issues. Jaguars 2nd based on talent. I had Colts and then Titans. I think I'm going to flip it now. I'm moving the goalpost now. Titans third, Colts fourth. It's more a positive statement regarding Cam Ward than a negative statement regarding what's going on with the Colts quarterback situation.
I'm going to go with the Texans in first place. I think they'll be the only actual good team from that division. I still don't believe in the Jaguars. I think they're just a little bit stale. Have them in second place. Titans third place, and that is mostly because I just don't believe in the Colts whatsoever. And, I kind of like the Titans. I like Cam Ward. So Titans third, Colts fourth.
And our last division to run through is the AFC West. How do you see that division playing?
I still think it's going to be the Chiefs over the Broncos, but as the great Lee Corso would say, closer than the experts think. I think that's going to be a very, very tightly contested division at the top. And again, wouldn't surprise me at all if it flips at the end, partly because of, and I know Doug's mentioned this, that the Chiefs defensively kind of fell off towards the end of the season last year so badly. I think the Broncos, if the offense improves as much as I expect it to under Sean Payton in year 2 with Bo Nix, and then the defense, I think, is just going to be the nastiest defense in the league probably. And so it won't surprise me if they do it, but I got to believe it. I got to see it to believe it if the Chiefs are going to get knocked off the top spot in that division. So I'll have them there. Third place, I think, is the Chargers. Raiders in fourth, but I could easily flip those two teams as well, depending on an injury here or bounce of the ball here. So that there's not going to be a huge gap between those two teams, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs and the Broncos down to the wire.
The last time the Chiefs did not finish first in this division, it was 2015 when the Broncos won the Super Bowl with an ungodly defense and just enough good quarterback play. Could happen again, just saying. Chiefs second. I think the fall off both on offense and defense was clear. I don't know if they've done enough to really fix that. I think I'm going to go Raiders over Chargers. I know too much about Pete Carroll.
I contemplated it. I'm not going to lie. I could easily flip the Chargers and Raiders there.
Vibes are down in LA, in that side of LA. I go the Broncos in first place. I think they're the most complete team in this division. I believe in Bo Nix. I believe in Sean Payton. Chiefs, they've been on the tick down for quite a bit. That Super Bowl loss was a disaster. Travis Kelce's getting old. I'm going to go Raiders third, just like you guys. I believe in Brock Bowers. I believe in Pete Carroll. And Chargers fourth. Justin Herbert, new girlfriend. Not really the vibe I was looking for. I think the Chargers are going to finish in last place.
Who do you have making each wild card spot in the AFC?
I'm going to take the Broncos and the Bengals, and I think the Patriots. I think the Jaguars could make a run there, but I think that the Patriots, with that coaching change and with Drake May's development, the improvements they've made to that offensive line, Travion Henderson, I think, has a huge rookie season. I think the Patriots take that last spot.
Chiefs, Patriots, Steelers, Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year. Another big oof for the Titans over the last 5 seasons.
Wow, no Bengals. Okay, I'm going with the Bengals as the number 1 wild card spot. Chiefs number 2, Patriots squeaking in. That's my 3 wild card teams.